Evening, Chair.
Thank you very much. Good morning, those of you watching on the YouTube platform in the video section of the London Borough of Newham's YouTube site. This is a meeting of the Licensing 2003 Act Subcommittee, and it's been held live in the Council Chamber. But we would appreciate you looking at the agenda pack, which is also found on the website. And this will be available in the video section of the London Borough of Newham YouTube site following this meeting. And I think that's all I need to say at that point. Carl, is that? Yep. Item 1 on our agenda pack, and as I say, that's to be found on, when we refer to the bundle, those are the papers that are pertaining to this meeting that is on the relevant section of committees and agendas. For item 1, declaration of interest. In accordance with the members' code of conduct, members is a reference to the elected members of the council. A members elected code of conduct, this is the time for members to declare any disclosable pecuniary interest or non-pecuniary interest they may have in any matter being considered at this meeting having regard to the guidance attached to the agenda, and the matters for consideration from the legal department are to be found on pages 3 and 4. I have nothing to declare, Councillor Tony Wilson.
Nothing to declare, Chair.
Councillor Winston Bourne.
Nothing to declare, Chair.
We now move then to confirmation of procedure, which is to be found as agenda item 2, which is on pages 5 and 6, and we'll start with introductions. So I'm the chair of licensing. I'm Councillor Neil Wilson. I represent the ward of Plaistow South. Councillor Tony Wilson, please.
Councillor Tony Wilson representing Beckton.
And Councillor Winston Vaughan.
Councillor Winston Vaughan representing Forsgate South Ward.
So we are the 3 elected members charged and trained to be members of this committee, and because we are not fully legally qualified, but we are trained in these processes, we are assisted by our legal representative today.
Andy Meathap, legal advisor to the committee today.
And because we rely on everything which has been said as well as what's been already submitted, everything written and oral, we have our clerk, Nisha, please. Right, so if we go around the room, if that's all right, everybody, and Pauline, you're also Zoom clerk.
Yes, Pauline from Democratic Service.
Thank you very much. So if we go round in I forget whether clockwise, but from that side anyway, it's easier to just point it if you don't mind. It's a teacher in me. Can you introduce yourselves from licensing department? Sorry, we've got to have windows open because I think the heating is probably bizarrely still on. But
I'm Colin Hunt, licensing. I'm the case officer for today.
Steve Jackson, licensing, just observing today, Chair.
Right.
Ben Liangdong.
Bing Qi.
I'm David Dowes. I'm counsel on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you very much.
Ian Connell, commercial environmental health.
And Connell.
Licensing.
Thank you very much. Now, because this was adjourned and then because of health reasons and everything else, it is my intention that we start from the point, not where we left off, but that we just, because we didn't really start last time. So I think it's safer for us to actually have, and now you're able to all present, it's great, so that we start with the usual presentations. So the licensing officer will present the officer's report. Members may seek clarification. The applicant, in this case, yourselves or your legal representative, the responsible authorities. We've got nobody in the gallery and nobody else on interested parties, but we can seek clarification. Anything? Sorry, David.
When it's convenient, Mr. Chairman, could I just ask, do you know what we're doing with the part 2 information? Because within the
that'll come.
Wondering whether on the broadcast of what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I'll come to that. Is that all right? I was going to outline the procedure. It's definitely on my list of to do. Then we move to relevant representations. We've had representations from police and environmental health, and then we move to, and any time members can ask questions, and applicant or their legal representative can ask questions. David's experienced enough to know that I tend to try and make it flow rather than have cross-examination, which is really acceptable. Then you have your case. Now, in terms of the restricted items, what I was intending to do was that we've got an Appendix B by virtue of paragraph 1, which Colin will read out. And I think if that's all right with you and everybody else, when we come to that item, we'll stop broadcasting. Yeah. we'll have the meeting closed, so we'll just
Yeah,
have,
I can just mute this
yeah,
microphone.
is that all right?
Stop and-
Rather than people going in and out. Common,
Are we referring to the intelligence?
yeah, but the exempt,
I don't intend to use that today because you considered it for the transfer.
oh, so the green item may not apply, but let's get to that point. Because we made clarification and, you know, is that all right? So, yeah, let's not get too bogged down, but that would be the general thrust. Is that all right, Monday?
That's fine. I mean, just to be clear, so it's an actually restricted item. And should the members wish to hear, you know, a summary or even that representation again, then obviously it will have to be in a closed session.
Yeah, we may want to, because of the background and whatever, we reach a decision. It may be in our interest and the public interest for us to be deliberating on that as well. Yeah, but that'll be for us to decide. Yeah. Okay, so is that all right, everybody? Are we all right to make progress? So on page 7, then agenda item 3, licensing officer to introduce, please.
Yeah, shall I summarise this because obviously it's been read out a couple of times, I think, before. So
yeah. Is that all right, everybody? Because we are reconvened twice and things. Is that all right?
So, Chair, this is a new application for Shishwan Grant, Unit 1, Jerry Reffel Square, Stratford E15, 1BG, and the applicant is 1968P Limited. The application is for both on and off sales, 10 till 2300 hours, and the opening times are 10 till 23:30. Police have made representation against the application on the licence objective of prevention of public crime disorder, and a copy of their letter is attached to Appendix B, which is restricted, as we've just learned or been told. The council environmental team have made representation on the licence objective prevention of public nuisance, and their letter can be seen at Appendix C. This premises does fall within the CIZ, and the CIZ map of the Stratford New Town is attached to Appendix D. This application was reviewed and transferred. This went to committee, and the decision letters are at Appendix E, and the current premises licence is at Appendix F. A plan of the premises is Appendix G, and a map of the area is attached to Appendix H. The members of the licensing subcommittee are asked to hear the application, representation from the licence holder, and any valid representation received from responsible authorities, and determine the application.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, there's a bare summary, but it's a summary of what's already there, but just so that we're not going over old ground all the time. Any questions arising, members, on that report?
Okay, just some clarifications on a couple of facts stated in your report. Start from can you tell me, is between September 22nd, June 2021 and the 29th of June 2021, was this licence still held by Mr. Lang? And is Mr. Lang's name spelled L-A-N-G or L-A-I-N-G? You've got two different variations throughout the report.
L-A-N-G.
Right. And was the licence still held by him between these two times?
He surrendered it on the 16th of June, 2021.
Okay. So on page 44, Mr. High, director, in the review hearing, could you tell me, was he the director of the premises at that time as well?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay, could you just make a note of that? Mr. Wren is now the new licence holder that is applying for the licence.
Well, the applicant is a company.
Yes, it's
Some done.
196.
That's who's applying for the licence, this licence.
But on the application, I have, unless I've read it wrong, forgive me if I have, it's got Mr. Zhuang Zhen Ren as individual who wish to specify on the licence and premises. So is that different?
That's the DPS.
That's going to be the DPS.
That's not the applicant.
Okay,
Let's be clear, because we're being broadcast, I hope still live. Well, the questions are coming from the elected member, quite valid. We have ascertained that there was a surrendering of the licence on the 16th of June by Mr. Lang. This application for this licence today, which is a new premises licence, is in the name of 168, I can't say,
968.
1968 HE Limited, so it's in the name of a company. But you do have further?
yes. So the director of this company, have you managed to check in Company's House if there's any relation between the now?
Yes.
Yeah, and the now company and Mr.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
I haven't. I don't know if there is any connection.
Okay, all right. And I think my last question, when this new licence was applied for, was the old licence surrendered?
The previous licence was reviewed and it come to committee
Yeah,
and where they put conditions, where the members put conditions on the licence, that was appealed.
3 months.
That was appealed.
Right.
That is still ongoing, the appeal.
Right, so.
So if, I mean, if this is granted, then there'd be 2 live licenses.
Can I intervene? Because there's legal processes
Yes.
going off
Yes.
the separate entity to this. Under the current provisions of the 2003 Act, whether we agree with it or not, and you know my views possibly by now,
Yes.
that we can have more than one licence extant at any one time. So this is a new premises application, not to be confused with that's already been dealt with elsewhere.
Because there is a current licence, live licence under appeal. When it gets appealed, then it's dealt with at court.
Right,
And so the licence goes back to the original until it's dealt with in court.
right.
So that's why the original licence is in the report.
As I said, I just wanted clarification.
It's that when I use my Latin again, it goes to the status quo ante.
Yes,
Conditions that were put onto the licence by this committee, they're not relevant.
They're not pertaining,
Dealt with in court.
they're not,
It's a brand new application and it's on its own sort of thing at the moment.
that's all I wanted was clarification.
it's good. I think I mean, whenever we have this sort of complication, and it is, as I say, it's completely in order for the question to be raised. And I'd rather that we try to make it clear as we go along to everybody how we reach these decisions. Thanks. Anything else on that? Councillor Vaughan, anything? Sorry?
No questions.
Sorry, you'll have to bear with me, and there's sort of sounds coming out. We'll probably get the sixth form college being released for something morning break soon, and swimming classes happening. That's the great joy of being a multi-purpose campus.
Lovely to hear that.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not objecting as an ex-teacher to any of that, but I'm just saying it's a joy of being on a multi-use site or whatever. Anyway, as long as we don't use the word MUGAR or whatever, multi-use games area. Right. It's not a games area, I don't think. Right. Shall we move without me waffling on too much to the Metropolitan Police? Now, my ruling is that this says on my papers that this is restricted. So I think we have to, at this point, if this is the whole of this is restricted, under the terms of Appendix B by virtue of paragraph 1 of the Access to Information procedural rule set out in the Constitution of this council, pursuant to Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972, the appendix does contain information relating to an individual. And therefore, the public interest in maintaining this exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. So I'm asking this committee, the members, is it agreeable that we now go into a private session in order to protect the confidentiality and the proper procedures of maintaining the exemption? Is that okay, Councillor? Can that be facilitated by a...
Yes, what I'll do is I'll mute the camera and mic and I'll put up a holding screen.
Right. So for the members of the public watching, we are now going into closed session, which is quite usual in licensing because it's relevant information that pertains to an individual. So the clerk will put up a holding slide as has been said. You'll let me know when that's facilitated. Sorry, we have to pause while this is all going on.
Yes, sorry, it's. I'm gonna mute this. microphone and I'll just go to
And
them.
you'll give me the countdown or tell me? Fine.
No, we're still live now, the microphone's on.
All right, thank you very much for your patience, those watching us on the YouTube platform. We have now come to the point where we are now back in open session, so we're careful not to refer to anything on the restricted items that this committee has been examining while you've been watching us as a closed session. So we now have general questions. We're still on questions to the Metropolitan Police. Councillor Tony Wilson, please.
Hello, Connell, you made mention about the volume of alcohol being sold, meals that will be going out to clients. As I said before, I don't think you mentioned exactly what was not mentioned in their application. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you'd like that to be working?
Yeah, the omission was about how off sales would be conducted and whether off sales would only be made with food. And it has been, we have had a discussion, they will only be made with food and it will be done via, sorry, what, is it Uber Eats?
I can't hear you, I'm afraid.
Right, so I was
No delivery, so it's absolutely clear, Mr Chairman, I think it'll be.
I think we've already had this question, by the way, but you can.
No delivery, no, the only alcohol takeaway is if you've been in the restaurant, had a meal and you've got a half bottle or something like that to take away. There's no delivery of alcohol via any delivery driver or delivery or any other.
Thank you.
Any kind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Connor.
But I think the other question was about outstanding conditions on what, was there another one? Sorry, am I misleading?
So it's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a minute, yeah.
Yeah, so Councillor Bond, it may come back to us.
Yeah.
Councillor Bond, do you have anything further?
No, Chair.
No. Right. David, do you have any further questions for?
I have no questions. I have asked the question and that's been answered.
Yeah, that's,
So, no, I have no further
that's
questions.
fine. Shall we make progress? Is that all right? Yeah. So can we move on to environmental health? I'm looking at you. Ian, what page are you on, please? Remind us.
35, I think. 35, sorry.
35, because we've had two editions of this one. So page 35 and Ian to introduce, please. Thank you. Yeah, we no need to read it all out, but just the relevant part of the paragraph.
The parents' representation, I visited the area on 12th of August last year. Nearest residential as we know directly above. We have had complaints, noise and antisocial behaviour. Prior to that representation, I haven't had any since. And then karaoke rooms and guests leaving late at night, causing a zero reference there. Closed, displaying notices and ensuring that noise and vibration are not noticeable from outside premises. Concerned that the applicant hasn't provided any information how they'll ensure that noise and vibration are not noticeable outside the premises. The acoustic consultant's report on the sound insulation within the karaoke rooms hasn't been provided. Neither have any works being carried out on the sound insulation to improve the sound or scheme of sound insulation proposed. It's clear in my visit that the karaoke rooms continue to be used. No changes other than installing CCTV have been done. Additionally, no information is provided on how many smokers will be allowed at premises at any time and how they will ensure the smoking area. They'll clean that area close. What time of the premises will ensure all customers are left by and how they will ensure that at closing time. Question about the conditions. Granted, we're happy to see those conditions proposed that they review being put on the licence I did have a discussion with Mr. Dads about the sound insulation and noise limiter conditions. My concern there would be that if we just put in a noise limiter, it might be that we have to set it so low that it doesn't give Mr. Haas customers the acoustic environment that they want, and then there'd be a temptation to try and bypass that. And we don't know exactly what the issue there is, whether it's with sound insulation, whether it's with structural transmission of noise via the mounting of the speakers or the ventilation ducts. So rather than the two conditions there that are being proposed in the review, I have a discussion with Mr. Dad's broadly about what we'd want to see as a condition, but not the actual wording. But we want to see prior to the use of the karaoke rooms for karaoke, the licence holder submits an acoustic consultant report to ourselves and implements the recommendations. So there might be sound insulation, there might be a noise limiter, it might be other measures that are proposed. That's it.
I might be slightly pedantic, but some people think that's one of my more endearing qualities. On page 57, we have a plan. Seem to be on page 57. I seem to recall that these karaoke rooms were pretentious in their usage last time, but you know, the red area normally indicates licensable activities, but you know, in this key, or as the Americans insist on calling it, legend, we've got fire blankets. So I'm slightly confused, but I'm assuming it's not a fire blanket that's going all the way around. It's the red area that's licensed. Are you on the same page as the document? So I'm wondering why we have to limit one part of the premises by a noise limiter and not the other. I don't know the last time I actually witnessed karaoke. I know it can be slightly loud, but restaurants can be loud if they've got music playing.
Yes, potentially, yeah.
So why are we focusing on these karaoke rooms from your professional point of view?
Complaints about them. They were set up for karaoke when we inspected them.
When you did your last inspection in 2000, whatever it was.
Karaoke,
right.
But we haven't had any measures in place to make sure that when they're having karaoke, they're not disturbing residents above, and we have had complaints from residents.
But these premises are Cheek by Jowl in Stratford. You've had no complaints, and the premises have been operating. Yeah, there's been fully operational because it's part of another process. There's not been any complaints since this one at your visit. And have you had a subsequent visit to this premises?
Not since August last year.
No. Right, because we've got all sorts of things about coronavirus, and then all sorts of other things going on. My last one is: are you standing by having a representation against this new licence with a sort of guidance towards us about conditions?
Yes, I think if those.
I'm trying to frame that in a sort of constructive way, David. I hope you.
I think all the conditions are implemented that will satisfy our concerns.
Right. Okay. Right. I think is that okay? Councillor Vaughan.
I think that's rather clear, yes. And if they can be agreed, I think
exactly
happy.
Yes. I'd rather we all, because we're a very inclusive committee. I don't know what other local authorities are like, David. I mean, I hear all sorts of malicious rumours, I'm sure. Tony Wilson.
Okay. Thank you. Just going back to your report. The third paragraph from the bottom, page 35, you said that they were in breach of the terms and premises licence and the coronavirus regulations. Which terms were they? Because usually you put them down for us, and it'd be nice to be able to note them.
Well, it was the hours of use. Sorry, they were holding regulated entertainment until late at night. That was the allegations. So we never witnessed that going on at the time.
That was contrary to the coronavirus.
That would have been
It reminds me of certain activities in London, but I can't resist saying that. But
there should have been nobody on the premises other than staff. No one eating or drinking on the premises.
Right, okay. All right. So we're happy with the conditions of this up to date. So that was one of the questions I wanted. How many people do you can be seated when you went to visit from what you saw? Because the map isn't very clear.
and that was a point before, wasn't it, about how many people in which room at any one time,
Yeah.
and what they were doing there.
I mean, they're reasonable size for these rooms. You could probably get 10 people in those rooms. They seem to remember they had seats on both sides.
So are we talking about the karaoke room or the restaurant itself?
Oh, I don't know how many in the restaurant.
Right, so you've not actually been in the restaurant,
I've been in the restaurant.
but you just don't know.
Capacity maybe 70, is that?
Right, so I've seen it, the map appendices G.
Is this the one I was being rude about? Page what?
Can you tell me?
Page 57. Sorry, I'm just conscious of the fact that we have public watching and I'd rather they followed, and is everybody else in the room following as well? So,
About Zoom chair, because we can get Colin to put it up on screen, but
yeah,
exactly where are the karaoke rooms on this map?
Okay, so there, those 3 small rooms.
you've got the same location as me.
Yeah,
Sorry, this is why it's quite hot. Yeah.
those 3 there.
Yeah. I thought they were. And they're Cheek by Jowl, the entrance, which is in Jerry Ruffle Square.
Yes, that was the entrance they were using
At that time.
at that time, yeah.
This is in much sought after Stratford Court. You have flats.
So I take it this picture chair on the back,
Yeah, I was going to say the picture's sometimes more useful than
Yeah.
the plans and things.
page 60.
These flats are residential, they're not office blocks.
Yeah, these pictures. So is this the restaurant here, this mosaic? Where is,
That's the bar of the.
That's the bar of the Theatre Royal.
So where is-
restaurants, I believe there's flats on the other side.
right, okay,
You see where those,
yeah.
sort of ghastly temporary things that
Yeah, yeah.
seem to establish everywhere in London, it seems. It's under those blocks, which has got this sort of like, I don't know, sort of
The main door.
designer balconies.
The main door to the restaurant is.
Right.
The door that we used during COVID.
Yeah.
For delivery drivers.
Right, okay, and that's
And that-
situated where? Here?
I think the main door will be right at the right-hand side there, if I'm.
Where it's got the double entrances.
All right, okay.
Good job we can use local knowledge. Sometimes the maps are flat, are a bit confused.
So,
Anything further, councillor Wells?
yes, I've just wanted to ask, was there any discussion on security staff? The agent or the applicant? No? Okay. And I noticed on the conditions for review, there is a dispersal plan in there, which we haven't seen, but you're happy with that as well?
That condition, yeah.
Lovely. Okay, and that's
For the karaoke rooms.
exactly.
Dispersal.
I don't want, I'd like to see a plan to ensure that when customers come out all at once, they're not going to cause a nuisance to local residents.
Right, okay. And was anything clarified on the, because I can't remember seeing anything. I know there was concerns about the smoking area and the amount of people. I think I saw something about 6 people or something, but was it a specified?
Was that specified? I
area?
think it was. I think we put something on. We normally do. 6, it was it. We normally do.
6 people, but was there a special area?
Exactly. Was there an area? We normally,
I think it's,
yeah. We may look into that then, specified area.
it's not on the.
It's not there, so it wasn't on the review conditions either, because I can't remember.
No.
It's just 6 people.
Just a limited.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Very helpful, yeah. Because we can, sort of discuss that further. Are we all right to proceed? I'm checking that. Do you have any questions, David?
I just have one question.
Yeah.
So Ian, I just want to be clear. So the conditions that you say are appropriate for this licence are the same conditions relating to sound installation noise limited imposed at the review? So, you know, the conditions relating to sound installation and the noise limiter at the review hearing on the 14th of September, are those appropriate? You're saying that those are appropriate in relation to this application?
Well, what I'd prefer to see is a condition that prior to the use of the karaoke rooms for karaoke, because I understand they're being used for eating at the moment, but not for karaoke, the licence holder shall submit an acoustic consultant's report to ourselves and implement the recommendations. So that may be sound insulation works, it may be a noise limiter, it may be other works to prevent the noise being transmitted.
But that would be predicated on the assumption that these rooms are no longer being used for just restaurant purposes, but for a specific of karaoke or other live entertainment. Yeah.
Subject to the approval of yourself as well.
Subject to the approval of obviously environmental health, because that's the whole point of having.
I haven't agreed that, Mr. Dance.
Sorry?
I haven't agreed that.
You haven't agreed that, but that's just your view.
That's an opinion, or whatever the phrase is, yeah. I'm getting my words a bit muddled and noted and agreed and all that sort of stuff, but just bear with me. So we're noting that, I think, that's at the moment.
I've made a note.
Yeah, is that all right, colleagues?
Yes, Chair.
Is that all right, David? You will make progress? Yeah. Okay. So where are we at the moment for time? 11:30. Comfort break, anybody, or should we go straight in?
I'd like to go straight in if possible because I have a funeral to attend.
Oh, I'm sorry. You should have.
No,
You should have said, David.
that's fine. It's not.
No,
I've
I
got
just.
plenty of time.
Right.
I've got time.
Okay, so if we go straight in and then, you know how long a bit's a string with us. But, you know. So,
I may not wait for the decision.
but, yeah, well, perfectly understandable. We've had to do that as elected members. I mean, obviously we make the decision, then we've gone after funerals or hospital appointments. Anyway.
It's a colleague, so it's not family, but nevertheless, I want to attend.
You want to attend, exactly. So,
but this first, so
Yeah, exactly.
This is my job for today. I'd like to, how long do I get to make a representation to you? Am I limited in time? I'm going to be fairly short, but.
yeah.
So okay, I just want to just double check.
I mean, there's no strict time.
Okay.
No, I mean.
It's going to be about 5.
2 time minutes.
It's going to be about 5 or 10 minutes. So
Officers have tried to contain us but with time limits, but as a school governor, it never works. I've told head teachers off for that, putting these time matters arising, and politics never works with timed agendas. But
very true. Well, look,
completely apolitical, obviously, this process.
I'm grateful for back in person, and I don't like the Zoom. Very difficult to body language, see people. It's ever so frustrating for me trying to be heard or give information. But so I'm pleased. Firstly, I want to set out that, which you already know, and I don't want to be teaching you how to suck eggs, as it were, but each application is on its own merits. This is a new application, so I'd ask you not to have regard to the review, the appeal, or any of those matters, because they are separate. This is an application on its merits, and I'm seeking to persuade you that this can be granted because the licensing objectives would not be undermined. Not here as a court punishment or anything like that. So that's my focus. Now, I will say, however, and I think it's fair to say, if this application is granted and after 21 days, and there's no appeal by any other party, obviously we won't be appealing if it's granted, and obviously granted on terms we're satisfied with, then there'll be 2 things that will flow from that. One, the appeal will be withdrawn and that licence would be surrendered. So there wouldn't be a duplication. It will be for a short period of time, but that's the intention. But I'm just giving that as an indication, just so that everyone understands what we're looking and what we hope to do. Now, in relation to where we are, I want to just do a short conclusion of where I think we are, and then I'm going to just take an opportunity to then explain what the application is, what we do, and what we're about. So the conclusion of all this submission is that I believe that the police have withdrawn all the Part 2 intelligence matters, and they don't seek to rely on that, nor note it. The police is really concerning their representation is about delivery and that, and we've addressed that by saying, no, Al, we will not be providing alcohol off sale via delivery service. No. Off sale is only for if someone's maybe not finished their drink or they've come into the restaurant and consumed food, because alcohol is ancillary to food. Conditions regarding premises, I'd like to just clarify, if I may, at page 44, there's some wording there about conditions about CCTV. I'm content, sir, that wording and condition be placed on the licence without objection, if you're so minded to do so. Condition number 2 regarding smoking, limiting to 6 customers at any one time. I'm also content, if you're so minded, to accept that condition too.
With the caveat of a designated area.
Yeah, well, we don't have a designated area, it's a public space, so in effect, we manage.
Onto the pavement sort of stuff.
We've never had any complaints
No, okay.
regarding smokers.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need to do that, but
Sorry for the interruption, but it was relevant, yeah.
and I'm quite content if you wish to do add further to that condition, clean at close, quite content with that too.
Sorry, this sounds.
Clean at close.
Oh, yeah.
Someone mentioned that.
Yeah. So none of these ghastly dog ends that some of us dispose of are.
Number 3, dispersal policy. We're content to have dispersal policy, but I do say that I think that's more to do with should we have the karaoke rooms, but content to have a dispersal policy. And it may be that we can move along with that fairly swiftly. In relation to condition 4, I think we've heard from Environmental Health that really this condition relates to the use of the karaoke room. Now, the karaoke rooms are not used at this moment in time, because we understood that they are causing a nuisance or alleged nuisance. So we accepted that and we stopped the use of it until we can get an acoustic report and undertake the works recommended in that report, which we would do, of course, if we are to use them for karaoke. But that exercise is expensive. We've just come out of COVID. There might be works that's required. So at the moment, a decision has been made not to use those rooms for karaoke. We're happy to have a condition saying, as a condition precedent, that if you want to use the rooms for karaoke, which are identified on the plan, which I sort of took the opportunity just to highlight.
Exactly, well done. Yeah.
So-
You're showing that you can use a highlighter.
Yes, I'll pass that up, yes. I love crowds.
Sorry, could you tell I'm an ex-secondary teacher? It slightly barbs my humour, but anyway, you carry on.
Well, on the Zoom, when I'm doing that, I'm highlighting, people think I'm drawing, so it looks like the way. So I am going to be quite clear about this insofar as I think there should be a condition drafted that says that those 3 rooms should not be used, or those rooms should not be used for karaoke, whether, and this is the key point for the lawyer to note, regulated or deregulated. All right. So we're making it very clear, because as you know, any conditions you put on this licence, up to 2,300 hours, they become worthless because it's deregulated.
Yeah, exactly. It's only after 11.
We are clear, we will not use those rooms, regulated or otherwise, until we've got this report and filled in the recommendations, because we want to be good neighbours.
Right, okay.
Okay, so we're happy for a note on the licence, if granted, if your mind is granted, to say regulated or deregulated karaoke. All right, so I'm clear.
And that all of this is conditional if you are to use these rooms for that purpose, yes.
Or regulated or deregulated karaoke. See so in relation to conditions, I think I've covered all what Environmental Health would require and all what the police require, and I think we've got our additional steps that we've set out within the agenda. Therefore, I believe I've addressed those causes of concern that they have. And therefore, from their point of view, their objections are dealt with, so the licence ought to be granted. Now, obviously, you are a body here that I have to persuade you to grant. Now, what I would say is that this premises is a restaurant, constructed as a restaurant. It has been used as a restaurant for many years. The main salient cause of concern were the karaoke room. That's been addressed. There are a number of other matters which were alleged, not proven. There are a number of matters which are subject to the appeal would be challenged. I don't want to go into that because I think we just open up discourse when it's not required. If we put these steps in place, the licensing objectives are met. We've had no complaints since last year, no complaint whatsoever. And historically, there's only been a few complaints, as I understand, and predominantly about the karaoke rooms. So therefore, as a rule, the premises doesn't have any fights, any crime disorder, any disorder as a restaurant. Operating as a restaurant, alcohol ancillary to food, it operates well without any material problems for neighbours or the community. So we believe, certainly since last year, putting in place a number of different steps, we believe that the premises is being managed. Now, I have Mr. Lynn with me, who's a new director. He's helping Mr. Her, which is, we've referred to Mr. E for HE, but it's So Mr. Her, he's helping assisting Mr. Her because Mr. Her does not speak English. Can't read or write English. So new director. There are, since last year, I believe it is that the premises, let me describe a bit more. The premises is pretty much it is a very good Chinese restaurant. You say excellent food, not just Chinese food, proper Chinese food. That's the word, proper Chinese food. Mr. Lin has over 15 years experience of running restaurants. He's a family man. The manager is also a family man, Mr. He's a family man. And that they are all in it together. They're there to support each other, work hard, and actually their shareholding goes much further. The shareholding is actually between not just Mr. Her, but the head chef has shares, the second chef, the head waitress, supervisor. What I'm trying to describe is that actually everyone is bought into this. So that it's an unusual union of staff and owner operating this restaurant, doing good, proper Chinese food. So it is a proper Chinese restaurant. So therefore, with all their experience, understanding, much more understanding of the licensing objectives, ensuring that they want to be a good neighbour, be part of the community, be a good union of workers, providing good food, good service, they know that they must promote the licensing objectives. And I believe with the conditions agreed and the police, we've overcome their objection. I hope that you will be satisfied as members. There's been no complaint for nearly the year. There's been additional steps agreed that you can grant this licence, knowing going forward the licence objectives. So because of that position, I don't propose to go into anything further for the sake of brevity and time. So unless you require anything from me, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, sir.
Thank you very much. Do we still wish to investigate this one about Companies House records? Councillor Penny Wilson?
Yes.
Lead on that one.
Okay, thank you, David.
Yes, sure.
This whole report has been a little bit confusing for us, in the sense that I know that we have got a chronological count from the police, but I would just like to hear from you. Since 2018, could you tell me when the restaurant actually was founded?
I can't tell you for sure. I think it's been there for a number of years, but certainly this applicant, Mr. He, has only been there, Mr. Her, or the company, which is 98
688.
has only been there, I think, for a couple of years.
2018?
So the 12th of November, that's when business rates.
Yes, I think it's something like that. It's pretty recent time. The previous operator, previous person is not connected to us. I think you,
Oh, Mr. Lang,
no, he's not connected to
right, he's gone.
So he's gone. Mr. Her, or Mr. He, Mr. Her, is there with a cooperative of union of staff being shareholders.
We just go back to Mr. Her. So Mr. Her actually took over the premises in 2018,
I think so, yes.
and he has been consistently interactive within the business from then until now,
Yes. Remains so,
and remains so.
but he has taken a lesser role because Mr. Lin
Lin.
is.
Which one's Mr. Her and which one's Mr. Lin?
No, Mr.
Her's
Lin,
not here.
Mr. Her's not here.
Oh, right.
No, Mr. Lin is
Lin's here.
director of the company
It's our manager.
and he's a
Don.
manager. Mr. Lin.
Right, okay.
So the confusion, I think, was that last time, I mean, and it's to the point that Dave is making about people speaking English and it's difficult on Zoom and all sorts of things. So if that's all right.
Please.
So your colleague who is not present is sort of, because I'm trying to be constructive without, giving you, sort of leading you. He is the person who's either a chair or whatever of a company, and he has how many directors?
There are two directors.
Uh-huh.
And Mr. Her holds 35% of the shares. The rest are held by staff.
And the total number of staff, is that right?
Sorry,
And there's 5 other staff that are shareholders that hold the other. Majority of the staff are the majority of the shareholders.
right, okay, so the information that I think was in the police report,
It's over 75%. That's not correct.
that's not,
It might have been correct at the time. I don't know. I haven't checked.
that was 6 months ago, was it? Someone looked into Companies House to see how much shares Mr. Her had, and it said 75%. Was it the police or was it?
But I do have the record if you want me to pass it up with the shareholding
Yes, please.
as of yesterday.
Yeah, everything.
Oh, that was fantastic, thank
Yes,
you.
thank you very much. That'll be part of, is that agreeable, all parties that we see
The
that?
company house record, yes.
Is that agreeable?
Thank you.
If that can be passed to the chair, and we'll look at that during our deliberations. Thanks very much, very helpful. Anything else?
Not for now, Chair, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah,
I think that's clarified, Dan.
yes, it has a lot.
That's where a real just confusion in our mind. Anything at this point for David or the
Yes.
applicant?
Need to seek some clarifications. And if you can help me on this. Now, this is a restaurant that has been operating as a business, but without the sale of alcohol. Is that right?
No.
No? Okay.
Because it already has a license. Just to explain, so the premises has a license, it's subject to that decision made by the council held in suspense whilst there is an appeal process. So that means they can continue to operate under that license. So this premises has been operating for the last year under that license without complaint. So that's the position. So to answer your question, it has been selling alcohol, yes.
Okay. I want to go back to the application form now and just clarification.
Sure.
Some names, actually.
Yeah, if you could give me the page number.
Firstly,
Yes.
This is page 11, it's on the main bundle. Sorry. The acoustics in this room, but was it me? But Mandy, you were finding it difficult as well. I don't know, people are talking, I don't want people to shout necessarily, but we're finding it difficult to follow. It's probably because we're so used to sitting in living rooms and having headphones on. Councillor Vaughan, page 11, for being very patient.
yeah, page 11. Now, your reference here is, forgive me about the pronunciation, but I would pronounce this as Shuan.
That's
That's your reference, page 11 at the top. Okay,
That's the sort of trading name and the restaurant as a venue, not the company's house record.
It's not a person, it's just
it's just a reference. Okay,
Then you have the first name, which is the company, because this applicant is a corporate company, which is 1968 HE Limited.
and the family name, same thing?
Pardon? Underneath is the, for the purpose of, company business being registered, that's the registration number, the company name.
Yes, see, so on the applicant details, first name 1968 HE Limited.
Yes,
Under that, family name 1968 HE Limited
yes.
and business name 1968 HE. So normally this would be the name of an individual.
Unfortunately, and I'm sure that you've seen it elsewhere, that the form, the way that it propagates when you complete it, it puts it into the boxes. So it doesn't, you used to be able to, on the paper form, complete a section if it's an individual or complete a section if it was a corporate, but it just merges it like this. So unfortunately, it's a process and a system. It's not as clear as paper form.
Confirm that, yeah.
Yes.
So actually agrees with you on that. So,
Yes,
Thank
I'm sure he agrees on a lot of things with me.
Have you tried to do my permit as well? Sorry, that's a distraction about, trying to navigate, I think is the word, around our website, something.
Yes, I had it during the week where it says you needed the password. It gave me, I go in and there's only room for 6 digits.
Exactly.
Therefore, I can't pass the system. It's new technology.
Yes, yeah.
okay.
I'm glad we clarified that.
Yeah, indeed.
I was confused about, because I think this is where some of the confusion is, because we're trying to ignore stuff and be fair to a new hearing, but So anything else on questions for David?
Just small.
Sorry, Mr. Daz, I should be formal.
At page 13, the postal address is Chuan Grand. Now, I know this area very well. I've come across that. So is that something new?
No, that's just the name of what the trading name above.
Trading name above the restaurant. Where if you were
Yes.
Councillor Vaughan, you see, you're so tied into the Forest-Gation area, you should get yourself out to Stratford. It's the name of the restaurant above.
Inappropriate for me to say you should come once this matter is resolved and you must come along.
We are so busy as elected members.
I haven't used that restaurant in a
Councillor, we don't need to go there. Can we?
clarify this, what I consider to be innuendos on this. Innuendos on the form, there's different.
Yeah.
Seem to be mixed.
Exactly, yeah.
I just want to clarify.
Yeah, exactly. It's just,
Meaning of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting them straight. I'm very grateful, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
anything else?
Yeah, that's fine.
I think it's been quite clear. I don't think we need to prolong anything. Anything from, I don't know what I'm looking at, because these are the referring officers. Any questions from the people making representations? Connell?
Sorry. No, sorry, yeah.
No, I thought elected members have wound up. Now they're putting their hands up. Can I bring in Connell? Is that all right? And then we come back. We can come in at any time, as you know. Let's let Connell have his day in, whatever it's called.
Just to clarify, you stated the only off-sales will be for people who've ordered wine or whatever and not finished it. So if it's the bottle, will the bottle be sealed?
Court.
That'll be called price and then.
Yes, resealed, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You don't want to be
No,
wine. That is a different interpretation. What you mean is that there'll be no spillage and.
yes, the court will be returned. Sorry, it won't be court.
Sorry, I'm being pedantic.
Oh, you're being correct. Yes, thank you.
We don't like spillage and out, because people have come to this committee claiming they're going to keep things under control and they're going to have glasses outside or something, It's about seal containers. I mean, it's consistent. Anything further, Connell? Anything?
Can I just ask a question? So it's obviously to Mr. Dad's as well. So it's just, are you satisfied that if there's no condition in relation to how alcohol is sold off-site?
I think there should be a condition
Okay, so
I think it should be a condition that says there shall be no sale by retail, off sale via delivery drivers.
Yeah.
Delivery.
So,
And the only circumstances where such would be, or whatever,
I think that's it. That's
all right, we don't need,
delivery coming in.
Well, I mean, one that came to mind, and obviously this is just a suggestion, is that the only off sale of alcohol would be where alcohol's been sold ancillary to the meal.
Yes, but
And
the thing is, they could
they want something and
come in and buy a meal, take the alcohol and leave. So that's why I'm saying no delivery. People come in, if they sit down, they've consumed a meal, they've got alcohol, they may not have finished the alcohol, they can take it. Other than that, that's it. That's very rare because normally they do consume it, finish it.
Yeah.
Allowing that,
To allow them in
Yes.
case
should that arise.
alcohol off-site.
but you're offering up to this committee one condition that specifically
No
is
delivery.
stating that there'll be no delivery by.
Is alcohol sold ancillary to a meal when they're inside the premises anyway? So do they have to order food
Yes.
to buy alcohol? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
And also just in relation to a point that you made earlier, you said that if the licence was granted today, obviously following the appeal period of this decision, that you would
Surrender the old,
surrender the existing licence, and obviously
the appeal will fall away, yes. I would offer that, but obviously I have to, so that you know, I have to enter into discussion with your legal department that each party bear their own costs and withdraw the appeal.
So taking aside.
Tie my hands.
No, taking aside the appeal, but I think it's just in relation to if this licence was granted today, whether you would surrender the
Yes, we
existing licence, fine.
Which is what I thought was the undertaking.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was,
So I don't give a personal undertaking, but that's the undertaking from the premises.
yeah, it was, yeah, you're the representative, sorry.
So, and that's me being pedantic.
Sorry?
That's me being pedantic.
Exactly, no, you're fine. I don't mind pedantry, it's an underused art, I feel. But, Councillor Wilson, you wanted to come back, looking at you in my magisterial way, like, it better be brief.
So just going back to what Mandeep said, and it's just again for me clarification. There'll be no off-sale alcohol for deliveries. So for instance, I came in and I've bought a meal for 10 people. I want to go home and I want a bottle of wine to go home. I'm overage. Will I be allowed to purchase a bottle of wine?
You've got to be.
Sitting.
The seat, and it's the residual, yeah,
Yeah, just wanted
The
to.
reality of it is
it's very rare.
is that you're not going to come in and pay the prices that they're charging. You're going to order the food, wait while that's being cooked, quickly nip to the off licence, get what you want, come back, pick your food, go home.
Right.
Because you can get twice the amount in the offie than you can from us.
And just,
I think that's the practical world.
it's on record, just. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
very good.
Okay.
Everybody's been very well behaved.
No buttons, that's what it is.
I can't hear you.
Right, Councillor Vaughan.
Yes, just one more question, which I actually missed, and it's a structural one, it's a company question. You have Mr. Lynn there, who's the CEO,
Director.
the director, and Mr. Down, who's also,
Manager.
who is the majority shareholder of?
Mr. Herr, Mr. Herr is 35%, but the majority shareholding is held by the staff.
Oh.
The head chef, second chef, head waitress, manager. Yeah.
Is that a unique setup, you think?
I think it's quite a nice union, and this is why I think it actually runs very well. I wouldn't call it, it's akin to almost like a family business. It's not, but that's the union which they've set up, yes.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thanks very much. I don't think we need to have a summing up, David, if that's all right.
I'm content.
That's one.
Oh, yeah, no.
Very Mandy.
Well, we employ our legal department, so yes, very well.
You're the whole legal department now.
Yeah, the whole of.
No. Let's not go there with legal.
Sorry, Ian, it's just something I forgot to ask you earlier. So obviously at the review, there was 2 conditions relating to sound installation and a noise limiting device to be implemented. So is you that there should be just one condition relating to prior to the use of karaoke rooms? Yeah, so you don't think that it's appropriate to have the noise limiting device anyway. It's more in relation to the karaoke rooms
If it were to be the case.
and an acoustic report. Yeah, okay, fine.
It's a conditional, if I'm not mangling the English language, it's a condition that will be conditional upon the use of those rooms for karaoke.
A condition precedent
That's the word.
on
I
that.
don't have any complaints about
No,
music played in the rest.
it was that specific geographical locale. Yeah, yeah. Okay, is that okay, everybody? I think we now pass a resolution, and David, you may not be back for the decision, or your client.
Want me to pass
Oh, yeah.
it up?
Yes, please. That'd be helpful. And
Yes,
I may not be here, but I understand the reasons why. Thank you very much for everybody's patience during this. For the benefit of those watching us live, we now pass a resolution that we'll be deliberating in public, sorry, in private, and therefore we exclude the present public who haven't been obviously physically present, but people could now be shown a waiting slide. Hopefully the clerk will administer in a second. And thank you, because I think we're dismissing everybody in the room at this point, Mandeep, aren't we? I think everybody can go. So thanks. Please remember to take everything with you. That's a security thing. And if you're like me, you leave mobiles, they slip around, and it's not allegations. Because I don't really want people coming in asking for things. So try and remember to take everything with you. Thanks for your patience. Thanks, everybody. And probably see Mr. Daz again, I would think. We can't presume the political process. That means we're up for election. So, you know, we don't know, if it, you know, just to clarify, we don't know who's going to be here and who's not. Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you very much, colleagues. I was going to say you're dismissed, but that's too cheechery, but you know. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Now, this is the one without the, but that's a.
Yes, it's online now. Will you just run recapping, please, Chair?
Right, I do apologise. It was my inability to deal with technology. Welcome back those who are watching this broadcast on the YouTube channel. We have reached a decision which we make in private, but we're now back in open session. And thanks for your patience while that process was continuing. I would now like our legal representative to just give a quick summary of where we've reached. Full decisions will be sent later, obviously.
So members have decided to grant the application for a new premises licence for Szechuan Grand Restaurant. That's the supply of alcohol off and on the premises Monday to Sunday from 10 o'clock in the morning to 2300 hours. Conditions will be imposed as set out on pages 44 and 45. That's in relation to the CCTV, the smoking area, with the exception of an additional wording relating to cleaning at the end of closing, dispersal policy, and there'll be additional conditions added relating to off sales of alcohol being restricted by delivery, alcohol being sold ancillary to a meal on the premises. Upon the issue of the licence, the existing licence will be surrendered and karaoke rooms for the purpose whether regulated or deregulated will only take place if the licence holder submitted an acoustic report with recommendations which are approved by the council's environmental health officer. So the full decision with the reasons and conditions will be set out in writing.
And it just, excuse me, it remains for me to say on public record, obviously, we are under the Auspices and Licensing 2003 Act. Our decision will be set out within a period, Clerk, of 5 working days. Yeah. And there is a right of appeal, so the applicant, responsible authorities and interested parties may appeal against that decision to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days. It just remains me to thank officers who have been able to remain, but also those I thanked privately before they had to go off to other commitments. So thank you very much, members, and I declare the meeting closed at 12:00.